Hello everybody, and welcome to another video. In this video, it's going to be my Air Tycoon 4 series, and we are back with another new type of episode where I'm now going to be doing time-lapse throughout most of the episode, and then I'll do a little bit talking thing at the end. Yeah, I did say that in, was it in the Q&A or the Update 53 video? One of them, I think it was the Update 53, but I said that I was going to be changing the way that I record Air Tycoon 4, and this is going to be the first video that I do of it. Just let me know what you think of it. I think this will be a better way to record it, where I can get a lot more content into one video, compared to like 10 routes or whatever, when in reality with this I did probably about 50. Yeah, basically what I did is I set up routes to every single place that I could that had at least 300 tour. Business I didn't really care about, but I usually tried to find places that had at least 200 tour, 200 business, but then I put routes in between each place that had at least 300 of business, 300 tour in each of these places. So yeah, I managed to cover quite a lot of the US. And Canada as well, because I included Toronto into a few of those routes. But I tried to cover as much as I can. There is still quite a few routes that I have left remaining in the US, which I still need to do. And basically, I'm just finding any route that I can. Like sometimes I might find a city. Like what I did towards the end was I'd find a city that was relatively popular, like Houston or Atlanta or Chicago or New York or something like that, and then I'd look at every single place that it wasn't connected to that had at least 300 tour. So like from Chicago, you'll see that there's places like Atlanta and Chicago and Phoenix and even New York, which didn't have places that were linked up, and I eventually managed to get them all in. So yeah, that will. I don't want to speak for too long because I'm sure you just want to hear a bit of music or something in the background. So yeah, just carry on watching the time lapse, and then we can move on to the main bit of the video. So after two separate days of recording this, this is actually the third day of recording. We've now finally got all those routes put in. Now, I did actually set up probably about another 6 or 7 routes after the recording, like the time-lapse ended, simply because I actually recorded on this camera, which is a different one to the one that I use, because essentially it stopped recording at the end of that because my camera ran out of charge and I couldn't find the charger, and I've had to actually order a new charger cord, so yeah, that was fun. But yeah, there was a bit that I recorded with this camera afterwards, and I can't find the footage, and I don't know why. For some reason, I just don't have the footage, so I've just decided to just leave it as it was, and then just show you a few things that I've done. And in fact, in the time lapse, there was one major thing which I believe was left out of the time lapse. Or in fact I might have done like once or twice, but the main thing I'll be showing you now. So before we get onto that, I will need to show you what routes I set up. Now, because I also recorded this before as well on this camera, so this is the second time of me recording that, so hopefully I can do it a lot quicker than I did, because I spent 15 minutes on it before, and I think I can do better than that. Now, I don't quite know where I started setting up my routes from. I believe it was from Phoenix, actually, if I remember rightly, and I think it was from Phoenix to somewhere, well, obviously, it was like starting to go to Washington and stuff like that, so yeah, it's probably Phoenix to Charlotte, I think. I'm guessing it's from there, probably, maybe, I don't know. Well, right now, I basically went through till the start of 2009. I thought that'd be a good place to stop, where I've gone but not quite 2 years, but nearly 2 years. I can't remember the profit that I'm up at now, but I believe it was about 230 million. So yeah, we are doing quite well. Yeah, I believe this is where I started. So I went from Phoenix to Charlotte, Toronto to Denver, Denver to Houston, Washington to Chicago, Chicago to Detroit, Orlando and Charlotte, Houston to Washington, Charlotte, Orlando, Las Vegas, Denver to Atlanta and San Francisco, New York to Phoenix, Las Vegas, Charlotte and Orlando, Denver to Washington and Las Vegas, San Francisco to Philadelphia, Atlanta to Las Vegas and Orlando, and Miami, Houston to Miami, Chicago to New York, Los Angeles to New York. Oh, those two there, they're actually extra 737s, which I put on those routes, which I'll show you about once I've showed you this. San Francisco to Honolulu, Los Angeles to Chicago, that's one as well, Chicago to Miami, Atlanta to Washington, New York to Philadelphia, Chicago to Philadelphia, New York to Miami, Atlanta to Detroit, New York to Detroit, San Francisco to Orlando and Miami, and I've just got the extra planes I've ordered and been recently delivered. So yeah, if you're wondering what those extra ones were, essentially, because the really, really popular routes, which are the ones with like over 400 business and tour, were constantly full, I decided to put an extra 737 on it. And look at it now, 9 million profit. I mean, it's not completely at 100% occupancy, but I used to have massive like paranoia over not having a route that's at 100% occupancy the entire time. It has to be at least 70. The game even tells you that. If it's below 70 in like months of April and May, the low months of like March, April, then I'd start to worry, sure, but not like having it at 80% occupancy and I start fretting. So, I mean, the problem was that I would put on a really short route like this one, Chicago to New York. Back in the day, I would have put an A300 or A330 or something like that on there, or a DC-10. I'm basically putting way more passengers on than the amount of schedules a week. That was why I had a bunch of problems with my routes and the airline failed. You know, I did that video saying, oh, how JetUS failed and how it didn't work. Scrap that, because half the things I stood in there were just complete and utter waste of blooming oxygen. Because a route like, do you remember Miami to Orlando? I did a route like that before. In fact, I could set up that's one of my routes. I did a route like that before with an A300 in JetUS, and I wondered why. If I just move my camera a bit, and I wondered why the route wasn't making millions. I thought that'd be a cash cow for a route, even though the business is lower and it still had high tour. It's because that I have loads of schedules a week on a really high capacity plane compared to a short haul aircraft. That is why. The reason why a route like New York to London made loads of money was because that it only used, 9-10 slots? Like 9-10 schedules a week? And that means that you transfer more passengers, because the demand would be the same. So a route like Chicago to New York, for example, you could just say that has the exact same demand as the one to London to New York. but the London to New York route can have a 747 on it, whilst the Chicago to New York one can't, because it has less schedules a week, and essentially more passengers are allocated on each of those flights. It's like if all of the passengers would travel on it if it had just one flight a week, but then if this was moved to, say 20 flights a week, then you're going to have less passengers on each of those flights because they're all spaced out. So that is kind of the problem which I experienced. Sorry, I just hit my desk there. But I decided that the best way to do it is just to put more 737s on. I'm not going to be getting higher capacity planes, because I think the best thing to do is go with a sort of Ryanair model, which is if there's extra capacity, just put another 737 on. And this will actually cover me when it comes to financial crises, which will eventually crop up in this game, because if I then lose the demand on those routes, like Chicago to New York, if I lose that demand, then I've got a spare 737 that I can set up an extra route with to try and get extra money from somewhere else. And plus, having 737s everywhere actually covers me for financial crises, and I'm pretty sure that I might dip into the red, but it won't be by very much, because all of the other routes that I did before, like the reason why JetUS failed was because I essentially had like A330s and A321s and stuff like that on these routes, and they all just had very low capacity. They barely barely any of their capacity was filled up, and essentially they were just all losing money. And then I wondered why the airline was failing. It's kind of not rocket science. The only way it works is I don't know why I decided to put long-haul aircraft on short-haul. I don't know why I thought that would work. I don't know why I said back in the day. I remember I said once, why is New York to Charlotte? Because I put a DC-10 on it or something like that. And then I was referring to the Sully, what was it, the Miracle on the Hudson, the US Airways A320. And when he said, why are they flying A320s from New York to Charlotte? Surely they just couldn't fly DC-10s or whatever, or just an aircraft of that equivalent size, like an A330. Well, that's the thing. Why would they? Why would they fly that? Because they could only do one flight a week, but with the A320 they could do 7. That's just an example of it. Frequency is king, not capacity, and I really didn't realise that. Anyway, I went on a massive ramble there, but that's basically why I put these 737s on here. So that means that because they're just making, basically, if it's 100% occupancy all of the time, then I'll put an extra 737 on. I'm kind of just trialling them out with some routes, and that's the thing. If it doesn't work, then I've got an extra spare 737 which I can just set up on another route. So I think that's the best way to do it. So I'm essentially going to have one aircraft short haul and one for long haul. I'm guessing that I'm going to go for a more WestJet model here, is the best way to describe it. So I'll go for, I will have 737s on the short haul routes, but simply one plane. And then when it comes to long haul, I will use one plane, which I'm thinking about. I'll probably start up using the 787 or something like that, or the A350. I'm kind of debating on which one to use, or even the A330neo, whichever one takes my fancy, I think. But I think it will be the 787. But I don't know, because I used that before, and I also used 737-800s before, like in the Air UK group video that I showed you, because that was a massive airline that I had that kind of got me into using this type of airline. So yeah, I'm going to be using one of those planes, but I don't know. I could be using the 787, but I really haven't thought about that. So yeah, that was the routes that we set up. Essentially, I think I probably said in the commentary, in fact, yeah, I won't tell you because I'll say that in the commentary what I did. But yeah, essentially next episode what I want to do is try and carry on setting up routes with a 300 tour on, and because there's still a few which I haven't filled in yet. Like ones from Orlando, for example. There's still a few places that have 300 tour. I'm basically linking up every place that has at least 300 tour with another place that has 300 tour. So Toronto, for example, I'm not linked up with. Washington, Charlotte, Las Vegas, Phoenix. There's still a bunch of places which I'm not linked up to, and that's just from one place. Remember, we've also got Miami, which still has Detroit, Toronto, Washington. Philadelphia I forgot about. Does Boston have it? I don't know, it's only 289. So yeah, there is still quite a few routes to set up. Plus, you've also got ones from Honolulu and Kona, which I still haven't set up routes with yet. Oh, actually not Kona, that's got less demand. But especially Honolulu, that has got over 300 tour, and it's basically like a Miami-type route. Look at it, I only sell it from 2 cities. And in fact, that San Francisco route I only set up in that time-lapse. In fact, I think I actually did it in the little segment which I didn't record on time, I can't remember, but I put that in, basically, between this episode and the last episode. And I also think that, did I say at the end of last episode that I was going to set up routes outside of episode? So what I'm thinking about doing is possibly doing some more offline. I might just carry on this sort of setup and then say, this is what I've done outside of episode. Because I don't think that I set up any of these other routes. Because I'm pretty sure that I set up all the routes outside of Los Angeles, and then I went and said, oh, I'm just going to carry on setting up routes across the US outside of episode. So today we are going to be doing some routes, but I want to start doing them going between all sorts of cities. So I think that we pretty much satisfied not all the demand from LA, but what I think we should do is I'm not going to satisfy all of the demand from the smaller places. I'm just going to go for the bigger places at first. So I'm pretty sure that all of these are ones I did outside of episode, other than the ones I've already done. So from Phoenix to Charlotte was the one I started doing from this episode. I think essentially all of these, up to the ones from Los Angeles, I did outside of episode. Oh well. At least I got set up. Yeah. If they sorry if I didn't. If that was the case, I'm probably going to find out when I actually look back. But yeah, I'm not going to go for the hub concept. I started setting up routes in Los Angeles, but that's the thing. I'm going to places like Minneapolis, for example. They have 126 tour. Even they have got like 99% occupancy, and that's at 130 price, 160 business. And are still making nearly 4 million on that route. So what I'm going to do is any place that's got at least 120 up to 200, I'm going to put like in tour. I don't really care about the business, to be honest. If it's got at least that, then I'm going to put a 737 on it at 130 price. If it's got more than that, so if it's got at least 200, so like Seattle and Vancouver, for example, which I've still got a link into the network, then I'll be putting it at over 160 price. In fact, I'm just going to check if I've actually done that. I think I have. Yeah, if we just have a look at Seattle, yeah, I've got it at 160, and there you go, look, it's at 100%, so, nearly making 5 million, so anything that's over 200 will be at 160, including all of the 300 routes, and I'm guessing that I'm saying that if it's close to 400, then I'll put another 737 on it, but that's what I'm saying. It really just depends, because, I mean, even on the New York to Los Angeles route, I've just realised I'm doing it again. Oh, it's not our capacity, I don't mean to go on Los Angeles. Well, not enough capacity, what am I about then, saying that it's not a full occupancy? But that's the thing, I'm making over 9 million, and that's at 100% occupancy. When I first put this route on, like, the route at first was making 4 million, I believe, and then I put an extra 737 on, the profits doubled. Yeah, it's... This is just by adding an extra plane, an extra 737. So that's what I'm going to be doing from now on. I have been rambling on for quite a while, so I'll try and wrap this video up. I was going to say that I'll set up routes with these aircraft, but I think I'll just do that next episode. So, yeah, I'm not going to be doing it outside of episode. I'll just do it in episode now, all in time-lapse. So let me know if you really like the setup. As I said, I would have done the commentary as well, which I've still got to record. As I said, we've still got more work to do, so you've got next episode to decide as well what you want to do. And essentially what I'm thinking about doing is once I've done this, then I'll move on to the places which have the lower business and tour, so like Indianapolis and Cincinnati and places like that, which have less demand to fly to, and I'll start setting up routes with them as well. And remember, this will be going from all of the popular places to the lower demand places. So I've still got loads and loads of routes to set up with. So yeah, we've still got quite a lot of work to do in the US, and essentially I'm going literally everywhere that has at least 120 tour, and that includes most places in the US, bar a few, like all of these places which I'm going on here, and just a few of them aren't quite popular enough, but as time moves on, then they'll eventually become popular enough, and I can link them onto the network. So yeah, that'll be the end of this video here. We are making a lot more money. We are nearly at 10 billion in value, I've just noticed. We have enough money to actually buy 3 737s at a time now. I can buy at least 2 before like when it got down to like the low months, like November and March and April. I could only buy 1 737. Now I can actually buy 3 in the summer and 2 outside of that. So I can buy at least 2 737s in every single month, which is good because that means I can set up at least 2 737s or just add an extra 737 onto the popular routes, which is what I've been doing the past few episodes. For the past few turns. So thank you very much for watching, and I've just remembered I need to do that. because that's the thumbnail, isn't it? So thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you in the next video if you decide to choose that one as well. Bye!